Muelrath, and I'm here at the Big Mind, Big Heart event in San Francisco with Genpo Roshi. And I'm finding, along with the wonderful experience that the day has been so far, is I'm running into and meeting some very interesting people. And one of those would be Bill Harris standing next to me. Now, you may be familiar with Bill from his work with HoloSync Technologies at Centerpoint Research. It's a wonderful meditation practice that I personally use, and that's one reason I was thrilled to run into Bill here. But Bill has been doing work with Genpo Roshi for quite some time, and I thought it would be fun for you to tell a little bit about your experiences. And I know you said you could go on and on, but let's start somewhere. Tell us a little bit about that.
My first experience of it was on DVD. I had a DVD of him doing Big Mind with a group of people, and both my wife and I were watching this, and at a certain point, we both sort of stopped the video and stood up and I said, this practice gives you the ability to have insights that it took me 35 years to have through meditation and other spiritual practices. It just blew me away. And then to fast forward a little bit, I was lucky enough to sort of almost accidentally, you would say, get the opportunity to meet Genpo Roshi.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
And through a series of circumstances, we began to become really good friends.
Now, how long ago was this experience that you and your wife had with the DVDs and it drew you into the practice?
Probably 3 years ago, perhaps.
Okay.
And then maybe 6 months after that, Ken Wilbur sort of accidentally introduced me to Genpo. And because Centerpoint has been so successful in a business sense, I had over the years learned a lot about business. So when I met him, I met Roshi. I asked him, how many students he had and so on. And when he told me, I thought, well, gee, you should have way more people knowing about what you're doing because it's so amazing. And I offered to help him to kind of promote this. And in becoming really close with him, I've had the opportunity of having him do a lot of this process with me, either in small groups and sometimes individually. And I just can't tell you how much it's deepened my awareness and my realization of who I am and the parts of myself that I have disowned or pushed away. And one of the things that's really key to this is that you've got all these people that say, well, I want to be one with everything and realize this oneness, and yet they've taken huge amounts of what is, about let's say a huge aspects of themselves, and have disowned them. The angry part of me, I don't like that. The selfish part of me, I don't like that. They have all these aspects of themselves. Things that are aspects of all human beings.
Sincerity as a seeker, but maybe not seeing the integrative necessity to become more whole.
Yeah, well, if you disown any parts of yourself, how can you have this experience of being one with everything? If you've taken parts of yourself and said those parts are not okay. Alan Watts used to describe this by saying, we have this game that we teach all new human beings as soon as they're old enough to learn the game. It's called the game of black and white. And the main rule of the game is that whiteness wins. So to play that game, your parents have to teach you that these things are wrong or inappropriate. And if you do these things, you're bad. And so we decide that there's all these things about being human that are not okay, not appropriate, and not good. And then we disown them. And unfortunately, when you disown them, they come out anyway because they are parts of being human that you really can't get rid of any more than you can get rid of one side of a coin and keep the other side. So this big mind, big heart process, part of what it does is has you speak from these parts of yourself that you may have disowned. And in speaking from them, you become more aware that, yes, those parts are there, and they mature into something that, when they're disowned, they become very dysfunctional. They leak out, they sneak out, but in
Catch you by
covert,
surprise.
dysfunctional ways. So if you've disowned anger, you will be really bugged by angry people, and you will manifest anger in many ways, but you won't see it. You'll think that it's everybody else's fault. But anger, when you own it, matures into something that's beneficial for everyone. It becomes kind of like what Genpo Roshi calls yang compassion, the ability to do what needs to be done for the benefit of everyone.
Well, like a tool that's then useful instead of wildly destructive without purpose
Exactly.
or meaning.
Exactly.
Well, it was apparent to me from that first hour today when he's calling it the work, when, rather than the lecture part, when it goes to right to working with people, how it simply made that process of connecting with those different parts of yourself. So how would you say, if someone wanted to get started with this process, should they maybe pick up his book first, or if they can't get to a retreat and they're intermittent, what's the best way for someone to find out? I know he has some videos online.
I would just go to his website, which is bigmind.org, and I would probably get some of the DVDs. There's Big Mind, Big Heart Revealed would be one of them. But I mean, you can go online and look and see which ones. Another way would be that there's a live internet TV every Sunday at 10 o'clock Mountain Time, where you can see him doing this process with the people.
Is he working with a group at the time?
Yeah, he's working with whoever comes to the center.
So that's a good way to be right there live and see what the process is like. It's good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's another way to get involved with it. His book is amazing. He's written several books, but this latest book about Big Mind, Big Heart, because he goes through scores of aspects of the self and the non-self, the no-self, you might say, and speaks from them. And what I think is interesting about it is here is a Zen master who is sharing all these aspects of himself. He's talking about these different parts of the self and the non-self, but it's from his perspective, which is a
very personalized.
Yes,
yeah.
And it's a very aware perspective, so you learn a lot about him and about what it's like to be in that kind of consciousness, awareness that he's in.
Well, the best way to learn anything is to have a model, and so he provides that model by giving those examples from his own experience. So, and I think we have another session coming up, so do you have any quick closing comments for?
Well, I would just say that this process allows you to learn more about the self. And as Dogen Zenji, a very famous Zen master, says, to let go of the self, you have to learn about the self. And this lets you learn enough about the self that it gives you some distance from the self. And that's what allows people to go into this transcendent, these voices of oneness or completeness or no self, depending on what you want to call it. So for people that have been wanting to have that kind of an experience, this is a very fast way to have access to that kind of an experience.
Very pragmatic and step by step. Well, thank you
It's
very
an
much
amazing
for
process.
your thoughts today, Bill. I really appreciate it.
You bet.